Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this spotlight. Web3. Will it revolutionize the world or is it simply an overhyped evolution of the internet? Does the never ending debate around Web3 design have you intrigued? We have Rahul Bhadoriya, who is the design project manager at Polygon, to answer this and much more. Rahul is a curious and self taught visual designer. He works as the design project manager at Polygon. He is enthusiastic about the flexibility of design and the impact of design for social good. When he is not designing, you can find him coding and exploring programming languages, and he has a huge appetite for traveling and is a nature lover. In this session, you will get to hear a lot about how Web3 design is taking over the internet. And not sharing anything else, I'll just quickly put the spotlight on you, Rahul. Please take us forward with this session.
Thanks, Kunal. Thanks for the intro. I'll share a screen and then we can just move ahead with this. Yep. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. So today we're not going to talk about Web3 in general. We're going to talk about Web3 design. Because if Web3 is a fad or not, I am not the right person to answer that question. But in design, we can definitely discuss and talk about that more. So first of all, a little bit intro about myself. Uh, my name is Rahul Bhadoriya. So that's a term we use in Web3 when we talk to people, which means we all gonna make it. You might have also heard GM in the term which is good morning, but short version we use to interact with people. So it's like hello for Web3 degens. Now, currently, as Kunal said, I'm a design project manager at Polygon. Currently, I'm helping them with brand design also. Other than that, I'm a 8-year-old self-taught designer. I started my design journey by being curious, learning from YouTube and Google. That's been my journey. After that, in this journey of 8 years, I've been working with in industry with many brands like IBM, Amazon, and Adobe. In that process, I also become a product maker. I have built more than 8 products and launched all of them on Product Hunt, and few of them, like 4 or 5, also got first number one of the day. So this is the first question I really asked me, like how did you transition to Web3 or how can they? So I'll first of all I'll tell you my story of how I got into Web3, and then I'll tell you how you can also get into Web3 design and get into this industry. So I joined a cohort which helped people build products. And while doing that, I met many builders who were already working on their own products. And there, someone asked me to design a logo for them. And when I asked them what's the product, what does it do, which is the industry, because need all that stuff to create logos. The answer I got was that it's a Web3 product. It's on blockchain, and that, again, as I said, I'm a curious person. That sparked the curiosity inside me, and I asked more about it, and I learned about blockchain. We already, most of the people are aware about cryptocurrency, but then I understood, which I also thought was more on the finance side. But then I learned about blockchain, and when I learned about it, I just wanted to get into it. And so I made a logo for them. And in the last 8 months, which I've been in Web3, I've been creating products in Web3 for Web3 people and talking to them. And currently, I work with Polygon to help them out with their brand design and other needs. So, how can you get into Web3? So, Web3 is a very community focused industry. So, if you're working on this, you would always be with the community. Again, if I go simpler way, right? So, in Web2, in Web3 or any industry, you need skills. So, if you have the skills, you can work in this industry. The base skill of designing, the base laws of UX, the base law of UI remains the same. They haven't changed a bit. There are layers of new rules which we need to follow because Web3 is changing blockchains and new technology. You need to learn about that. We'll talk about that in the latest stage of this talk. But the base is same. If you're curious, if you know basic design technologies, design stuff, you can work in Web3. So if you have skills, you could have which you could use in Web2, you could use them in Web3. And Tribe, as I said, it's a very community focused industry. So to grow in this right now, you need to find your own tribe. We are at the early stage at this, and in this stage, when we have to grow together, it's better to learn with people because then you can learn faster. You have other people who help you out, and that's why you need to find your own tribe. For me, it's been a Discord community called MakerDoc, and after then I joined other Discord community called Super Team, which is run by Tamna Bhatt, Kazenda, and Akshabiri. And there I found my own tribe, who people who help me out, and help me out always with the knowledge and everything. Now, the third thing, which is the most important thing, is understanding the tech. As we know that the blockchain is a new technology, you need to understand the tech a little bit more, and you need to understand how blockchain works. Because you can design basic over level stuff of posters and everything, but if you want to do product design, if you want to do brand design, you need to understand how the technology works, so you can understand how people who work in this technology thinks, and then you can interact with them and help them out. Now, I think this is the biggest question anybody has, or like everyone asks me always, that what is the difference between Web 2 and Web 3? And there are three, four abstract points which we'll talk about. We won't go in much detail because I think then the half hour won't be more than enough. But if you just go in detail, there are 3 points which are very important. The first thing is wallets. So I think most of us have always interacted with bank accounts on internet, right? In Web2, when we have to access our bank account, what do? We go to incognito mode. We never save our passwords. We make sure that nobody is watching us when we enter the password. Cause the reason is we have money in that bank account. We have finances which someone can steal. But with Web3, you're interacting on internet with your wallet, which has all your crypto tokens and everything, right? So that risk which we had in Web2, which was whenever you are working with your bank account, was very small because you were already doing it few once in a few days. But here, whenever you're interacting with any dApp on Web3, you'll always interacting with the wallet. So this is the biggest difference, that the risk and the interaction has already increased a way more than ownership. Now, I think most of you heard about centralized and decentralized. So this is, it talks about on that level. So in Web 2, your data was stored with other people, right? It was always with Facebook, Google. So for example, let's say you lost your passwords, right? Now you want to get your account back. What do? You would go to Google, you will request for them a forgotten password, or you will mail them, and they will talk to you, right? They will give you the data, and someone else was always there with ownership of your data. But in Web3, you own your data. So if you lost your password, if you lost your seed phrase, believe there's no way you can get your account back. You might have heard the stories where people have lost $1 million of Bitcoin because they forgot the seed phrase or password of their account, right? So this is when you design for Web3, you need to keep these things in mind because now the risk factor has increased a lot. So in Web 2, when we could be very casual about stuff, in Web 3 we need to be very serious. Again, Web 2 is a 30 years old industry, which is comparing like a grown person to an infant. Web 3 is really on an earlier stage. In the last 2 or 3 years, we have seen it grow. So obviously the comparison is very like very biased right now. But if you're going to design in Web 3, you need to keep these things in mind. Now this is the word which I love about blockchain technology. So in 2016-17, there was a designer called Sarah Baker Mills who worked on IBM's, helped them out with blockchain technology. And if you go to Medium or if you go to Google, that's the first article someone has written about blockchain. And that is the time when someone coined the word trust design. Cause the thing is, in Web 2, we used to all like someone send you a link, you have to log in. The most you can lose was an email account. You would lose a Gmail account, it could hack, you could always get it back with other methods, phone numbers, and everything. But in Web3, if you interact with the wrong dApp, you could lose your wallet, which obviously has your finances, your tokens, and everything. More than that, it has your identity because you would have other domains, sole domains, ENS domains connected to your ID wallet, and if someone gets their hand on that, they now own that data. So designing trust in Web3 is really important, and this is why this is one of my favorite line, that Web3 is a trustless technology. Right? There's no person who you have to trust that it will happen or this will happen, or they'll keep your data safe, or they will do this or that. You're trusting a tech which is going to work automatically. It's in code, it's hard bound in code, it's going to happen even if you want it. Once you have created a smart contract, even if you're the owner, you can't stop it, it's going to happen. That's how Web3 works, right? So it's a trusted technology, and as a designers, our job is to design trust around that. So this is why the challenge is fun. We have to work on it. Right now, there are two ways. So as I said, we are at a really early stage. Web3 is an infant, and Like till now, what we have been like, how we are doing or designing trust was by two methods. So the first one was creating trust through branding. So if someone who just get a new app yesterday comes to me with a bad logo, with no communication, with no clear landing page, I won't trust their product, right? But if they have a better logo, they have good branding, we would trust their logo. So that's creating their app, that is creating trust, right? So till now people have been using branding to create trust. That is also one of my favorite things to do. And then there is product. So when you're designing product for the app, like UI UX you're doing for product, in web 2, if you I think most of you have might have never read terms and condition, like always take move ahead. But in web 3 those are very important, because you are not just giving them access to your sign in option, you are giving them access to your wallet, your funds, your tokens. Sorry. And this is why when you design, like people who create products in web3 are very mindful of whatever they write on their screen, what the content is, because again, as I said, the whole concept for web3 was on digitalization, making a better tech which was not controlled by authorities, central authorities, right? Not authorities but people, right? So not one person can control it. And if your product is not trustworthy, people, even if you have a best product, won't use it. Now this is the question, like what is the future of design web 3, right? Like you might have seen already people raising fund, people working on it. Like I changed my whole you can say my career, I went from web 2 to web 3 full time. So what's the future of design, right? So me being a brand designer, I've been doing branding only, even in web 2, in web 3. As I said, I know the tech more now, more so I know the people more, so I've been working on that identity, with that brand communication with people. But if you're a new designer who want to get into web 3, what is that what's the future of it, right? What can happen in the future? So there are 3 points I see which most likely would happen. The first thing is that we will have more connection between our mobile devices and IoT devices. So you can easily talk, so home automation and everything could become much easier with web 3. Got everything would be in blockchain, and you can, it's easier to then interact with each other. Interrupted design for dApps. So, for example, right now Solana came up with their own phone, and for that, people are going to create a new OS for them, Solana OS, right? So, when you are creating that design language will continue to other phones which will come in blockchain in future also. So, interoperable, which works with each other, that is also going to be a new industry or new type of work people will be doing. As I said before, branding always plays a very big role when communicating to masses, when it goes to more people and you want to build trust faster. So that's why composable products and branding will also be useful in the whole process. Now with Web3, there was already design types, right? So we do print, we do digital, we do UI, phone-based, more responsive. But with Web3, there were also new type of designs which people can now get into. So again, I'm not saying that these were not existing, but because of Web3, now they would be more on the front. People would be more getting into it, and they have a more opportunity to create use cases for this. For example, AR VR design, right? Because now with metaverse, people will be interacting in digital lives, so VR can help in that case. Same goes for AR, where you can have your own clothing in metaverse, which you can just put in augmented reality in your real life. So Instagram, if you go to Instagram, there's already AR based clothing happening. So now with Web 3, where we have use case for this, people will now get into more into these kind of designs and work on it. Meta was already happening without Web 3 also, but with Web 3 it becomes much easier because now everything is on blockchain, so it's easier for people apps to talk to each other. So thing which you own, one token or one clothing which you own on one game, you can use it in another game. Obviously both games have to be in aggregation to do that. For example, the third thing can be physical design. So example, we have all seen Paytm box, right? So currently the Paytm box gives you a voice whenever you pay that amount. But with blockchain, because everything will be on tech, with chain, you can do is you can design a digital plus physical thing, right? So you can work on those devices. Those devices would be also more become more interactive, and people will be getting into it. After that, data design. Now I think this is one of my favorite, because blockchain is a tech. It's really complicated. for example, right now, if you go to Etherscan, Source, or any blockchain scan, right, and go and try to read their transaction data, it's really complicated. It's cause the reason is it was designed for developers, right? It's made for developers. It's being made by developers. That's why it's tough. And while when we go to the mass adaptation, we need to design that data to be better consumed by users who don't know about the tech or who don't know about the dev technology who haven't worked with, who are not devs. And as I said, with metaverse, mixed reality will also be there. We will have more system and digital and physical things. Now, with this Web3 design space, what is Web3 design in a whole abstract sense? Because people have been confusing it with that, okay, we're going to do metaverse and everything. In a sense, it's all about designing trust. Like, it's all about bringing people to use this app and work on it, right? Now, other thing which would be always happening is that the target goal of Web3 is that when people are using Web3, we don't want them to feel like it's Web3. We don't want them to know that it's blockchain. They should always care about the result only, right? Result is what matters to them. So it could be Web 2, it Web 3. It would be more sufficient. So Web 3 focus, but that should be there always. Thank you everyone for coming to talk. I hope this helped you in a sense. If you have any questions, do ping me in the chat and I'll be here to answer them. Thank you.
Hey Rahul, hi. Sorry I couldn't join you in the beginning.
No worries, no
I was
worries.
there from the second slide, and I'm really glad that I could attend it. Um, Rahul, I'm going to start with where we ended our Twitter space, and I'm going to just check in the chat if people who attended our Twitter space on Wednesday, do you remember what that question was, where we left that conversation? Um, Anybody,
I mean, yeah.
just put a yes in the chat if you were there on the Twitter space on this Wednesday. On the Peppers page, we did like a small Twitter space. If not, I'll just just tell you the question again. Do you think Web3 allows us less boundaries for creative expression compared to like the traditional Web2 companies? That was the question. So Rahul, what do you think about this? Do you have any strong opinions about this, or you feel like, Arey, I don't think so much on this?
Yeah, so if I go individual exploration, so again, when we are learning something new, there's more chance of exploration because the rules have not been set, right? So if you are a product designer who want to explore in Web3, you would obviously have better opportunities to explore, because in Web2 there's already rules which are fixed, because they are not also wrong. They have been done by 20 years of experience. People have made those rules which make products better. But in Web3 that is always evolving. So right now if you join and if you start getting into it, you can obviously explore more than Web2 when it comes to design in that way. Now if I go
Yeah,
industry wise, so I feel, yeah, in a sense, because Web3 is again digital, and people are right now at the early stage are very open to taking risk or experimenting with new things,
yeah,
not in design or even with products and ideas. And so that's why I feel obviously it's more exploration friendly right now at this stage.
yeah, yeah. In Web3 projects, let's say as a brand, or if I like even deal it down, let's say just specific to design, are we optimizing for acquisition of new users? Are we like optimizing for awareness about that particular Web3 project? What exactly is, let's if we can take like specific your, let's say, role at Polygon, what are you like chasing in terms of like design goals?
Yeah. So, like Web 2, in Web 3 also, there's 0 to 1, 1 to 10, all that method of growing a company, right? So, Polygon right now has already crossed that 0 to 1, where we already have the tech, we already checked the tech, we're
I
already
think it
working
has
with
crossed
people.
0 to 10, 1 to 10 also.
I'm like, yeah, I'll be able to humble and just say 0 to 1. Yeah. So for us, the next step was we have already has tester which we work with. Now the next step is to get to mass adaptation, right? But that depends on your product. So some products which might not B2B, right? In the starting, you need don't even B2C. In the start, you just need 100 people to test your product. Because again, as I said, blockchain is new, so people are experimenting even if this is possible or not, or even it's
Yeah,
possible. Like for example, some people I can say make the same product in Web 2, copy it on Web 3.
yeah, yeah,
But is it even needed for Web 3? Right? If the user is happier and it's not solving a issue. There's no need to copy that product to blockchain just for doing it sake of the Web3 space and everything, right? So yeah, it depends on where which stage you are at your product. If you have crossed that 0 to 1 thing where you have your test, your end sorted, and you want to do mass adaptation, then you will obviously focus on that. And for that, you'll need to work on more branding than product design. Because in the starting stage, people should focus on more on the experience of product because the tech is the important. After a stage, like I think in product design also happens that starting people focus more on the product tech, more on the not on the UI that much, but after stage they also focus on the UI and UX and the branding and everything because they need to communicate to masses more, and that change keep changing.
Yeah, yeah. Any Web3 projects from India that are there, and you feel like, okay, no, these have like a great design positioning or a great brand positioning. It could be in the DAO space. It could be, let's say, anything. It could be NFT communities or whatever. Which ones have you seen that you personally like admire?
So obviously Polygon is there. Like it's not like I can say their name. So Polygon is there. Other than that, in DAO, Super Team DAO is one of the, you can say, best when it comes to bringing Web3 to India. For example, I got into Web3, earning in Web3 through Super Team DAO, and many more people are
Yeah,
also doing it
yeah, yeah.
currently. So that is there. The branding they just revamped just few months back, and I'm helping them with branding. So that's been very good design. They are very focused on design first. Other than that, in company wise, I think Pillow is doing a great job. So Pillow is doing on design front is killing it right now. If in Web3 space, I remember that Pillow is branding everywhere. Whenever I see that, another small brand is called Capex, which just recently product which started, but the branding side they are also killing it. So these are just a few brands which are working on great increase your reputation of branding in their work.
Got it. Super. I'll probably send you some examples of Web3 projects that I personally have liked. But I'm gonna take one last question from the audience, and this is something that Arpit is asking, and I think it's very much relevant for the discussion also that we are having. How do you measure design, let's say, success in Web3? It's already difficult to measure subjective things in Web2. What process do you suggest? Or what are some, let's say, processes that you follow, let's say, at Polygon?
Yeah, so Polygon, as I said, I work with branding side, so we are not very much into the product side of things, right? So I can't speak for those, but the products which where I work with, I think they are similar to Web2 only, right? So after a time, you are gonna focus on users more than tech. So in Web2, you do user interviews, you talk to user, you do A/B testing. The same thing you do in Web3 also. So when we build a product, the first thing we do, we got 100 users from our product and launch or our communities. We test the product with them, get their feedback, and make the product better one after another. Right? With branding, we are still exploring because, for example, in Web2, the colors have been defined by emotions. Right? If you see
Yeah,
red, you know this is this Coca-Cola, Vodafone, all those brands already. Tech, you
yeah,
need to that you have to blue. But in Web3, gradients and everything is coming, and I'm still exploring. So people are using different colors and exploring that. For example, in Web2, I would never use a neon color in a brand because then the
yeah,
print won't work in with that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's a cost, extra cost for the brand, which I would never add for them. But in Web3, I
yeah,
can do that because most of the product are going to be digital for a longer time
yeah,
before they think and go to print. Like for example, Polygon, I think at this stage, now we go to print because we have to do merch and talk to users and do that. But we are not even that print heavy like any other Web2 company when they have brochures, mailers, like flyers and everything, right? So that's why I think in Web3, process wise, the product same method happens. In a branding, we're still exploring. There's no set press process. Everybody is making their own.
got it. I think Web 2 or Web 3, it's always, some of the other struggles that every creative team goes through. It might be Web 4, Web 5, as Jack was saying a few weeks back, that, we let's get ready for Web 5.
By five,
Uh,
yeah, very
yeah,
true.
but I think every platform and every, let's say, this new revolution of the web will have its own new structures and new challenges to have. But it was great to listen to you, Rahul, today, and I'm sure probably in future we might work on some Web3 project together. I'm not sure when and how that will happen, but I'm also very personally intrigued and interested into the potential of blockchain as a technology, and also DAOs as in general, the idea of DAOs and decentralized ownership of it. So I'm really looking forward to probably in future. And if people from here in the chat who are attending this session, if you all are also working on any Web3 projects, please feel free to reach me or Rahul. Let's do like a candid catch up about what you are building, what you're working on, and let's see how we can help everybody, because that's what really Web3 is all about, WAGMI, and helping each other. Funnily, I never really understood why everybody in Discord keeps writing GM. Um,
So that's
later,
a funny story behind that. I mean,
yeah,
there's
I
no
mean,
sense on it. It's just that I think someone made an app called GM, which did only when you click on it, everyone on internet you just join there and just send GM. So it was just a
yeah,
fun thing which someone did. And then just like Web3, the thing is that it is how it is happening. With starting as these are just folks having fun,
yeah,
right? So GM just picked up, for example, so there's terms called biddle or hodl. So which is
yeah,
you write build wrong and hold wrong.
yeah,
Someone wrote it by mistake. It was not on purpose. Someone
yeah,
wrote build by mistake, and then everyone, to make fun of it, just started doing that as a process. Now whenever we are making
yeah,
something, we just write it wrong for obviously, because
yeah.
like just to make fun of it. It's just been trend.
Yeah. I think for those reasons why I kind of am interested on the Web3 side of things, because it just makes you, rethink about the structures that you have built for yourself because of working in Web2 and those, organizations where they have like those systems. So I think working in Web3 is always like very interesting and a great creative exercise also. But yeah, anybody who's here listening to this session and in the chat engaging with us, if you are working on any interesting project, please feel free to DM us, and we'll probably work together. But once again, thank you so much, Rahul, for doing this session with us today, and thank you so much for your time. We, of course, like big fan of all the work that Polygon does. So really looking forward to what magic you create over there also, and we'll probably be in touch soon once again.
Thanks, Pawan. Thank you.
Thanks.